So I'm Animesh and I'm an engineer. Sanjeev and I, we did engineering in the same college, not my co-founder. We both had different careers spanning different countries. Sanjeev, after his engineering, he did a year at Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, post which he went to the US to do his master's in Florida. And after his graduation, post-graduation, he started working with a few startups there. He set up his own company called NetYantra, which he exited from around 2011. Me, on the other hand, after my engineering, I worked with a few companies in Pune, and after my stint as a CEO for a company called CopyLink, I took an exit, and I was in the Middle East. I set up another company there called Caps International, and that's when, because most of my customers were in India, I moved my operations back to India. So that's when Sanjeev and we caught up. We met up after almost 25 years. We figured that it might just be good to hang out together. So we both had exits, we had some cash, and we thought, so we started a company, so we thought that what's the next interesting, cool thing that we can do together? We both had complementary experiences. Sanjeev was from a technology background. His previous company was in the VoIP space, and it was quite path-breaking in the sense that he's one of the reasons why you don't see EPBXs, these big chunky boxes and these old, the telephone lines in each desk that was connected through that box, because he figured a way, through a single line in. The telecom operator could provide high-end EPBX services themselves, and you didn't need the EPBX of the world. And so that's the reason. And with my product and marketing background as well, I work. I set up. We built a product that matches behavioral skills to job requirements, and that was again a pretty exciting venture. And then both of us had some decent exit, and we thought that that what could be something that's beyond next generation, and that's the reason why we started working together. If you look at it, so like I said, we were two friends and met after a long time, and we caught up, and then we used to pretty much hang out till about 3-4 a.m. in the morning in the bars in and around Pune. And in those discussions, what we realized was that we were in a very unique position to do something that could be a reality beyond tomorrow. So we had huge discussions on things that what you hear about people discussing today, like consciousness, intelligence, or artificial intelligence, or the differences between intelligence and consciousness. And when we saw the space, we thought it was super exciting. And there were still two challenges that was there. One was basically being a startup in India. It was almost impossible for us to get the kind of funding required to work in the area of AI directly. And then the second challenge was to get the data, because any AI models will need huge tons of data. So the compute was one, which was very costly way back in 2012. The data was the other. So we knew these were the challenges, but we still, said, let's set out on this journey, and we cannot work in the general artificial intelligence space. But what we can do is we can take the clue from our evolution as humans, and we realize the points that even though we were around for a million years plus as Homo sapiens, we still got intelligent maybe around 10,000, 12,000 years ago, when we acquired our cognitive artifacts like language, numbers, right? So this same thing we figured, and because we had set up a company, we figured that the company is also an entity, and if these entities start acquiring their cognitive artifacts, like they're able to understand language and numbers, then they will also evolve beyond what we can imagine. So they can be autonomous, they can start making decisions pretty much like you and I do. So this was the early bet. It was unreal. It used to be quite funny when we went around telling people that we work in AI and NLP, and they would look at us and say, Air India and neuro-linguistic programming, and we'd say no, it's not that, but it is artificial intelligence and natural language processing. So we had to start from that era. But it was quite exciting because we knew that we were doing something that's beyond tomorrow. It was not just something that we could sell in 2015 or 2013, when we started in 2012. But we could take this, extraordinary leap, much ahead of the times. And like I said, there were two challenges. One was of the compute, which I think, thanks to the then partnership between Reliance and Microsoft, we could get access to around $120,000 of Azure credits, where we got access to GPUs, to the NVIDIA GPUs. And for the second part, data, we had launched something called Pooch, like Ask, where you could ask a question and get an answer. So it was a very exciting days, on SMS. So which means that, because as you know, the AI needs Q&A pairs, they need all of that, and we didn't, we thought this was the best way how we could get that data. And yes, so that got, you know, we wanted it for the data, but it so happened that we got a lot of social recognition for the social initiative, and it was helping the people on the other side of the digital divide with access to very high-end technology, just on an SMS. So I think, yeah, those were pretty exciting times. And today, I mean, like after ChatGPT is when everyone now realized what we were doing way back then. So I think it was an exciting journey, and definitely we now realize that we took the right leap way back. So we knew, like I told you, the compute was then expensive, but we relied on Moore's law for that. That the compute is going to get cheaper as the years go by. So we were very confident that if not the next 10 years, the next 20 years, definitely AI will be the centerpiece, and in our domain, which is enterprise intelligence, it's going to be very critical there. So we knew that the compute would be made, would become cheaper, even we didn't expect, with what was released at the last CES, it was beyond even what we thought. But yes, of course, it's all coming together. The hardware is getting much cheaper. The models are getting more available. And we also see that unique positioning where we can give with a much, for the enterprise, we can give them a very secure system or a platform which will not hallucinate, which will, the foundation model, because we built it, from scratch. We know that it will not pick any entities from that model while it's dealing with the enterprise. It will only pick the entities that are there with the enterprise and so on. So we were able to put a lot of checks and balances in space. Yeah. So the idea is that, today we know that it's real. But again, it's just the beginning. And we see that the future is an intelligent enterprise, which means that based on anything that's happening anywhere in the enterprise, the central brain of the enterprise will be able to make autonomous calls, that will be for the benefit of not just the enterprise, but also all the stakeholders, whether it's the shareholders, the employees, the customers of that enterprise, the vendors, even. It will make all of their lives much better. So cognitive process automation, when we're talking about an enterprise, right? So an enterprise is typically a bunch of processes, right? And within each of these processes, there are humans today mostly that make, whenever a decision is required, that the human makes it. So if I was to take a very simple example, when you walk into a large building, like if you were to walk into Reliance today, you would have to go to the gate, and at the gate you would be guided into a room where there would be someone checking your identification. They will be looking at the appointment, or in some cases they search for an email from somebody within Reliance to have sent you that mail that, okay, I'm expecting so-and-so person. Then they will look at your ID, they look at your face, they will make sure that the face on the ID, your face is similar. Then they will, guide you or tell you to walk, or send you in another vehicle to the right building. Then you have to go and find the person, or find a conference room, or somebody will guide you to that. And then, finally you leave, right? So the same thing, if we were to do it using cognitive automation, you would just be walking in. Maybe you might send your government ID earlier on and your picture earlier on WhatsApp or something, and you can just drive in literally. If you're in a car, the cameras will recognize you, to recognize your car, and it will also guide you to the building, where to the parking near the building, and it will also open all the doors right doors so that you can go to the right conference room. At the same time, for the person that invited you, they will get information. The AI will inform them that you're in the premises, and it will know definitely it's you. It will not be anyone else. So it will save a lot of time, effort. It will be all trackable. It will be very secure because in the former system or the system that is there right now, there are too many gaps in that, right? So the ID could be a fake one. The person who's sitting there may be under fatigue. Maybe based on who sent the invite, they might, even though the face is not exactly matching, they might easily ask or be afraid to say, okay, I'm sorry, your face doesn't match. Stuff like that, right? So there'll be a lot of issues when humans are handling it, and it's causing a lot of unnecessary friction in any process. So this is just one example, but of course there are tons of processes within enterprise. Are actually, we define it as a bunch of processes. So there are tons of processes within that. So the cognitive process automation means the AI is able to make decisions on its own by reading a document, looking at a face, or looking at material, and then doing the decisions themselves. So in cognitive automation, you don't have to rely on humans to make the decisions. In industrial automation, there were no decisions made by machines. What it was told it used to do, it would automate that. It would do exactly what you told it. Like if there is a lathe, you will instruct it that you cut for so much, for so deep, and you make this. It should be this form at the end of it, and whatever you instruct it. Wherever there is a decision, like somebody has to see something and sign something off, or somebody has to, you need humans in the older automations. Today, what we're talking about is transformation of that, where you are able to, where the AI is able to make those decisions and without needing a human. So I told you about the data set, right? So it was an experiment that we launched called Pooch, where people could ask questions in a free-flowing natural language and they would get answers. So most of the answers were system generated. With those days, it was the early days of neural networks. So we did send out the answers, mostly predictive AI that was there then. So over a period of time, we've been compounding on that data. So through every kind of open source that was available, and then today we have like about a 7 billion parameter LLM model, right? Which means that it's quite enough. It's decent enough for any enterprise to use to build conversations, to generate conversations, and to get a good understanding of documents and everything. So that's how. So we use that data, and then we trained it on NVIDIA GPUs, which is then made available. When it comes to enterprise, like I said earlier, it's at the cusp of phenomenal growth, right? Because let's face it, the reality of the market is that if you as an enterprise are not using AI, your business survival is at risk. And this is true with anything else. Like you take appliances, for example, you need to know what features people are looking for in a washing machine, how much they're willing to pay for it, where they live, more than actually creating an assembly line to build that washing machine. So if you're an enterprise and if you're not intelligent, as in supply chain is not taking your customer feedback, if your account payable is not talking to your account receivable, if your shareholders are not happy with your employees, all these so-called unrelated things, if it doesn't come in together, another enterprise that solves for that will survive. It's a matter of survival now. It's not just a good to have. So when it comes to artificial intelligence in the enterprise place, there is no option. It's going to happen. And if you're not using it, somebody else who's using AI will either buy you or will get you off the market.